and welcome to the Aunty Lisa show. What shall we do a story about today? Let's see. In the silver bag. We have Margot, Edith and Agnes. Oh, and I took out 2 by accident, and Dru. That is Gru's brother. Wait, and we need one more. No, not that one. Wait. That one. Aunty Lisa, Aleksander and Kristoffer. Lovely. In the red bag we have... Let's get 2 at once, why not? We have a T-Rex and a Triceratops. Okay. In the bag of random things, we have a magic wand. Uh-oh, it's not good. Right, and in this colour bag, white, we have... Ooh, the shrimp shack. Ooh, right. One day, Aunty Lisa arranged with Dru to do a Nephews and Neices Day Out. That's right, because Dru is Margot, Edith and Agnes's uncle. And Aunty Lisa is, of course, Kristoffer and Aleksander's auntie. So they decided to do a Nephew and Neices Big Day Out! Woohoo! Well, it all started off extremely well. They met at the shrimp shack, which is where you can have snacks such as shrimp, but Aunty Lisa doesn't like shrimp, so in her version you could also have pizza and delicious coffee and cake. Why not? So they met at the shrimp shack and everything was going super duper well. Everyone was happy. Aunty Lisa and Dru were getting on like a house on fire, not literally, and it was all perfect. And they said, well, what shall we do with the rest of our day? And they thought, we should have planned this in advance. But hey, let's just roll with the punches. And Kristoffer and Aleksander said, hey, I bet Margot, Edith and Agnes have never been to Jurassic World. Do you think they'd like to come with us? And Aunty Lisa said, well, why didn't you ask them? So they did. And Margot and Edith and Agnes said, yay! Because they were extremely excited to go to Jurassic World. Dun, dun, dun. So, off they all went in Dru's super fast, speedy car. And Aunty Lisa was very cross because he was driving too fast, and she made him drive sensibly. Because safety first. So anyway, they went slowly in Dru's super fast, speedy car, like this. And finally, they made it to Jurassic World. That's the music that plays as you come in through the gates of Jurassic World. And of course, at Jurassic World, they had a personal tour with Owen and Claire. Why not? Owen and Claire were there. And they said, hey, we are going to show you around Jurassic World today, guys. Everyone was so excited, especially Edith, because she loves all things cute. But she was especially excited because she thought maybe, just maybe, they would have a unicorn. Wait, is that Edith? No, Agnes. Agnes wanted to see the unicorn. Edith likes interesting things, as does Margot. I think I've got that the right way around. Anyway, so Owen and Claire took them on a special tour, and they let them ride inside those great big, like hamster balls. They're like a ball that you go in. You can ride around inside, and they saw all the cool dinosaurs, like Triceratops and a T-Rex and Pteranodons and Ankylosauruses and Brontosauruses and all the excellent dinosaurs. And they were just like, has been the most amazing day of our lives. Thank you so much, you guys, said Agness. But what I really wanted to see was a unicorn. And Aleksander and Kristoffer said, I haven't got any unicorns here at Jurassic World. It's only dinosaurs and other prehistoric creatures. I wish we could find you a unicorn. That would be so cool. Well, what happened next would surprise anybody, because on the way home, they had a car crash. No! And the car smashed into a deserted woodland. I say deserted, only deserted by people, not animals. Animals are full. There's those of them in the woodlands. And all the birds went caw, caw, and started flying off and craziness. And then the car was steaming, and everyone went, uh-oh, I think it's gonna blow. And they had to dive out of the car super fast. And just as they dived out of the car went and everyone went, no. And Dru went, oh my God, my beautiful car's exploded. Oh, I wish it wasn't exploded. And just as he did that, would you believe it? The car magically got unexploded, because he had landed bottom first onto a magic wand. That's right. He had landed on a magic wand. Luckily for him, magic wand was lying down. Otherwise it could have been very painful. Anyway, and he went, what? What just happened? I wished that the car was okay, and look at it! It's okay! Oh, wow! This is the best day ever! And everybody was like, what just happened? Dru, we think you might be magical. And Dru said, wow, I always wondered if I might have a special gift. And then Aunty Lisa said, hang on a minute, Dru. What's that you're sitting on? And Dru went, what? This old thing? And Aunty Lisa said, I think that is a magic wand. How exciting! It's a magic wand. I wonder who it belongs to. And Edith said, who cares who it belongs to? Let's take it back to Jurassic World and see what we can do. And before anyone could say, don't even think about it, that's a terrible idea, Edith, she had jumped in the car and was starting it up. Well, no one wanted to be abandoned in that woodland for the rest of their lives, so they all dived into the back, and Edith steamed that car super fast all the way back to Jurassic World. The doors opened. And Owen said, hey guys, what are you doing back here already? You just can't get enough of dinosaurs, can you? Well, no, they couldn't, because Edith was now on an absolute roll. She started making wishes with her magical wand. And the first thing she wished was that she could ride on a T-Rex. And everybody went, no! This is going to end horribly. But she marched on over to the T-Rex enclosure. She went, I wish I could ride on you! The T-Rex suddenly gained a saddle. A saddle is what goes on a horse's back for riding normally. The T-Rex now had one. And Edith was on top of the T-Rex. And she was like, giddy up, T-Rex, giddy up. And the T-Rex was running around its enclosure. Going, rah! With its tiny little hands. Rah! And everybody else was just staring like, oh my goodness. And then they said, Edith, how are you going to get back? And Edith shouted, I don't care. This is the most fun I've had in ever. Giddy up, T-Rex, giddy up. Well, they all had to wait around because there was no way they were going to leave Edith with a T-Rex until eventually, she jumped off the T-Rex and ran back out of the T-Rex enclosure to where everybody was. And everyone went, don't ever do that to us again, Edith. You could have been gobbled up. And Edith went, don't be silly. I've got a magic wand. Nothing bad is going to happen. So Aunt Lisa and Dru said, right, I think we should have that magic wand now because it seems to be a little bit dangerous. But no. That was not meant to be, because do you know who got it next? Well, it was Margot. Margot snatched it out of the air. She was in a particularly rebellious mood compared to how she normally is. And she went, I wish I could talk to a Triceratops. Bing! And off she ran. And when everybody finally caught up to her, she was having a deep conversation with a Triceratops about the meaning of life. And the Triceratops had some really insightful things to say. Really smart, that Triceratops was. And Margot was writing it all down because the Triceratops knew a lot about life and all sorts of things like the stars and the moon and the sun and all that stuff. And everyone said, well, at least you're safe, Margot. That's a nice, sensible thing to do. Learning about the meaning of life from a Triceratops. Fine. Now let's have that magic wand back, please. But before they could snatch that magic wand back out of Margot's otherwise sensible hand, who should grab it? Agness grabbed it. And she went, I wish that Triceratops was a unicorn! And the Triceratops went, and it was covered in fluff. And it was very confused. The Triceratops was like, with its big one horn and its clippity-clop hooves. And everybody looked at what was a Triceratops and now a great big fluffy unicorn. And Agness went, I love it, it's so fluffy I could die! And she ran to that Triceratops and she leapt on top of his back. And they charged off into the sunset. And Aleksander and Kristoffer went, what? What does that? We didn't even get a turn. And Aunty Lisa said, good. You see her? She's gone off into the sunset. We might never get her back. And Aleksander and Kristoffer said, we don't care. We want a turn. And Aunty Lisa said, fine. And don't you go wishing for anything silly once we catch up to silly old Agness. It took them hours to hunt down that lovely, gorgeous, fluffy, squishy unicorn. Hours. And eventually they did. It was eating some grass and some dandelions at the edge of the enclosure, and Agness was asleep on its back, and everyone crept up. They quickly grabbed the wand out of Agnes's hand. And Auntie Lisa said, well, I think, do you know what? I think that is quite enough magic wand for today, actually. Maybe another day, Aleksander and Kristoffer. Maybe another day. And she started to put it away in her bag. But then, Kristoffer and Aleksander were having none of that, frankly. And they grabbed that magic wand. And as one human being, they shouted this each. Kristoffer said, I wish I was a T-Rex. And at the very same time, Aleksander shouted, I wish I was a super spooky ghost. Oh no, this was going to be super bad, because suddenly there was a ginormous T-Rex like this. Oh, yeah, oh. And Auntie Lisa looked up and she prayed to every god that she'd never believed in, that Kristoffer remembered that she was the auntie and he was not allowed to eat her. And she looked up at Kristoffer the T-Rex. And Kristoffer the T-Rex looked down at her. And he went, ah, oh. Ah, oh. Because he knew, thank goodness, he knew. Auntie Lisa, not dinner. But then where was Aleksander? Suddenly, everything started going. And Aleksander appeared in a swoop of swirling wind as a super spooky ghost from the hidden side. And he went, woo, I'm a super spooky ghost, Auntie Lisa. Woo! And Auntie Lisa went, no, your mother and father are going to kill me. Oh, no. Well, Aleksander had the best time being a super spooky ghost. He crept up on all of the dinosaurs at Jurassic World and went, boo! And they all individually went, ah! And ran away. And Kristoffer had a great time being a T-Rex. He crept up on all the visitors to Jurassic World and went, ah! And they all went, ah! By the end of the day, frankly, Auntie Lisa and Dru had had enough, right? Agness was still asleep on a unicorn. Edith was really annoyed because she wished she was still riding that T-Rex, but the T-Rex had wandered off and she couldn't ride it anymore. Margot really wanted to have this lovely conversation with the Triceratops that was now a unicorn. And the Triceratops that was now a unicorn, well, actually, he was quite content because he quite liked being a unicorn with a lovely pokey unicorn horn and fluffy fur and a cute face and little cloppy clop hooves. He thought that was okay. And he still got to eat his favourite food, which was grass. But Auntie Lisa and Dru were very, very, very concerned. Night began to fall over Jurassic World. And it got darker and darker and darker. And they suddenly realised people are going to notice if we don't make it home at a normal time for dinner. And they're going to be very miffed with Auntie Lisa that Kristoffer is a T-Rex. Aleksander is a super spooky ghost from the hidden side. Agness, is now riding a unicorn. And Edith's just in a grump. And so is Margot. on the plus side, at least all of those were still human and things. So they had to think very carefully, and they thought to themselves, we need to undo this magic that's happened. We've got to put this right. Kristoffer was getting hungry, and a hungry T-Rex is not a happy T-Rex. So Auntie Lisa ran down to Owen and she said, Owen, you've got a new T-Rex, as you probably noticed with the whole T-Rex scaring everybody thing. And Owen said, yes, I had noticed actually, and thank God he hasn't tried to eat anybody, but do you mind, could you turn your nephew back into a human, please? Because he's ruining our business. Nobody's going to want to come to Jurassic World and get terrified by a T-Rex. And Auntie Lisa said, oh, I don't know how to turn him back, but he's really hungry and I'm worried he might try and eat one of us. Can you give him some dinner, please? And Owen said, okay, I've got half a cow over here. I'll give him that. So Owen gave Kristoffer the T-Rex half a cow. And Kristoffer the T-Rex looked at it like this. Yeah, bleh. And everyone went, oh, he does not like half a cow for dinner. He's not like a normal T-Rex. He's a little boy inside a big T-Rex. And so they said, well, we haven't got enough food to feed you that's not half a cow. We need to fix you. And Kristoffer the T-Rex sat down like this, with little tiny hands. And he looked very sorry for himself. Meanwhile, Aleksander the spooky ghost was bored of being a spooky ghost. And actually, he quite fancied having some dinner and going to bed. But as a spooky ghost, you can't really have dinner and go to bed because that's not what they do. They just spook people all the time. He was bored of spooking people. Agness was still asleep on top of the unicorn. She was fine. So, Dru and Aunty Lisa decided they had to go back to the woods because that was their only hope of finding out where the magic wand had come from and seeing if they could fix the problem. So they went all the way back to the woods. And in the woods, they searched and they searched and they searched. And then they found a witch's house. And they knocked on the door. And a lady came to the door and she went, hello? And they said, hello, we've got a bit of a problem. And she went, what is a problem? And they said, well, unfortunately, our nieces and nephews have borrowed your magic wand. We think it must be yours. And they've turned themselves into a T-Rex, a ghost, and they turned a Triceratops into a unicorn. And then there's other two myth children as well. And she went, well, serves you right, I say. Serves you jolly well right. You should have brought it back to me in the first place. And they said, yes, we're very sorry, but please can you help us fix it? And she said, well, maybe I can and maybe I can't and maybe I don't want to. And they said, oh, please, we'll give you some ice cream. And the witch said, oh, well, I mean, you've got ice cream, you say? And Auntie Lisa said, order ice cream you want. And she said, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Krispy Kreme. Mrs. Krispy Kreme. And Auntie Lisa said, really? Krispy Kreme? She said, yes. And then they became firm friends. And Mrs. Krispy Kreme flew Auntie Lisa and Dru on her witch's broomstick all the way back to Jurassic World. And there they found quite a commotion was going on because Kristoffer the T-Rex was trying to eat Agnes's unicorn. He was chasing her all around the enclosure like this. And he had gone quite crazy. Just before he could grab hold of the backside of that delicious looking unicorn, Krispy Kreme the witch went, give me my wand then. Okay, because only the witch who owns the wand can undo the magic spells. But they will all undo, mind you, all of them. Are you prepared for that? And Auntie Lisa said, yes, please. And Margot and Edith went, no. And Auntie Lisa said, don't care. Right, do it. And Krispy Kreme the witch said, okay. By the power of Grayskull,
I command all of these wishes by all of these silly billies to be undone. Bing!
Just in the nick of time, Kristoffer turned back into a lovely little boy. And Aleksander, who'd been a spooky ghost for far too long now, went back into normal reality. Whew, he was so relieved. And the Triceratops, back into a Triceratops. And Agness, not impressed at all. She was crying and crying and crying. And everyone said, hey, Agness, don't cry. You got to ride on a unicorn. And she said, oh, but I love the unicorn. This Triceratops is too lumpy. And Aunty Lisa said, well, if you squint a bit, maybe it could be a unicorn. And Agness said, don't be silly. Well, just at that moment, Krispy Kreme the witch said,
a unicorn? Well, I didn't know you like unicorns. Come with me.
Now Aunty Lisa, who doesn't normally go with strangers, said, all right, she's done us a good deed. And you've got some responsible adults with you. Let's all go and see what's going on. And Krispy Kreme the witch said,
oh no, not now. Come and meet me tomorrow in daylight and I'll show you something amazing. Just by the edge of the wood, mind you. Bring your parents. That's right. Not a weirdo. Bring your parents.
So, everybody, including Mummy and Papa and Dru and Lucy, all went down to the edge of the wood the next day in the sunshine. And do you know what they saw? It was the best day ever. Because Krispy Kreme the witch had 2 unicorns. 2 unicorns. And Agness nearly died of joy because they were so fluffy. And she said, you guys can come and visit anytime you like. But don't tell anybody, okay? Shh. Nobody needs to know about the unicorns. Now, where's my ice cream? And so luckily they'd all brought some ice cream. And everybody had ice cream. And everybody was super happy. And that is the end of that story. I can never do a short story. Why? Okay. Bye-bye. Love you.